Oh, so it took long enough to actually start this damn show. What the hell is that?
This is a warning to all living mortals, that who shall ever open this chest of demons will release 13 of the most terrifying ghosts upon the face of the earth. Okay, cut it. This isn't going to work. Let's try some nostalgia bait.
It's finally strange. You looking happily deranged. I can't settle in bed. Or have you picked your target yet? It's ending. Got your dog bite. It's ending.
Okay, that was better. But let's try something a bit more cinematic.
Hey, where my broken arrows at? They try to tell us we can't fly. Like we too broken or something. I mean, I'd rather let them know. Hold up. My squad about to roll up. Hold up. My squad about to roll up. Get them balls up. Get them balls up. Get them balls up. Get them balls up. Hold up. My squad about to roll up. Hold up. My squad about to roll up. All the way up. Get them balls 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 all the way up. Broken arrows get bows up. Sometimes I pray with my nose up. Thinking about when the world crumbles and my whole squad just goes up. Ain't gotta worry, we straight like an arrow, yeah. Ain't gotta worry about faith, nope. I'm on that straight and the narrow, yeah. I just go straight like an arrow, yeah.
Yeah, that's the shit I like. Let's start the Barroom podcast. Take it away, Jacob.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here again, episode 122 of the Barroom, and we're back on a more stable platform for the time being until I figure out to test out another one. Then we won't be so stable. But until now, we got a couple of guys joining me here for episode 122. Our good buddy Orange Hat's back with us. How you doing tonight, Orange?
Doing well.
I can only assume this is the new and improved laptop of Rob Motto that's joining us here tonight. Is that true?
Yes, it's fancy and it has a touch screen, and it didn't cost me nearly as much as my Apple MacBook Pro did 10 years ago. So making inroads and all that fun stuff. So excited.
I think this one, when I bought it a couple of years ago, because I was using it for work, I think I spent $700 on this one. I'm not 100% certain. The number's kind of funny, but I think 700 is the number that keeps throwing back up for me. So was it higher or lower than that? Slightly higher, $750. So I got it was a pretty good deal. Yeah. Yep. And I might just got a regular old HP because I don't do the Steve Jobs computer, so I'm just not going to go. I just want to say really quick, and I know it's probably just good common sense, but never bet on the Jets. Okay, never bet on the Jets. I literally, if it was not for the Jets, I would have won, no joke, like $8,000 over the last 2 weeks. So I'm doing really well with my picks, but it's just like I'm doing 16 leg parlays every week and multiple 16 leg parlays where I'm basically trying to hit every single fucking game. So I'm on the money line, by the way. So it's a lot of fun, but it's like that fucking close to winning a good amount of money is, yeah, it's entertaining. That's what I can say. Yeah, it's not a good time to be a New York sports fan right now. Freddie Freeman is literally single-handedly beating the Yankees at the moment. Like they're going to get swept, and he's going to be the sole reason why they get swept right now. The Jets and the Giants are both terrible. They're both awful. Aaron Rodgers needs to retire, and then the Giants need to fold their entire franchise. What was that? Basketball, the Knicks stink. The Nets are a joke. Hockey, you have the Rangers who choked last year. So yeah, it's not the best time in the world for New York sports fans. It's all downhill from here.
Yeah, what's great is the Knicks traded away all those draft picks to the Nets for Mikal Bridges. I don't know why. And the Jets and the Giants have been perpetual losers since I guess the Giants won a pair of Super Bowls the last decade. And what's funny is Otani, so Shohei Otani basically had a partial dislocation of his shoulder. And I don't know if he's been a non-factor since then. I would assume so. I mean, I was kind of surprised that he was even going to play, but yeah, that New York LA World Series that everybody wanted is going to be over real soon.
Yeah, I'm just glad that it's done. Like, just end the season. Like the Dodgers winning, like I said, between like the Yankees and the Dodgers, like you put a gun to my head, I'd rather the Yankees win. But I mean, when they're just getting drugged out this bad, it's like yeah, just go ahead and end it. Like we'll need to drag this out any longer. Yeah, so that's New York sports. That's the center of New York sports over here. What you like, Michael Myers now? Is that what we're doing here on One Shot?
Well, Leslie complained that we didn't have costumes, so I decided to play along a little bit. Give her some stimulation.
Yeah, I'm not wearing no costume this year. Let's screw that. I don't care. I don't even like Halloween anymore. Yeah, like I said, once when you become too old to trick or treat, like who cares about Halloween at that point? Like you go from being too old to trick or treat, then you go to like these stupid like costume parties at dive bars for a couple of years, and after that, it's like I don't care more.
Well,
Who
then
cares?
just dress up as this guy without the hat, and you freaking just carry a butcher knife around. I'm pretty sure people will eventually start to leave you alone.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll get shot eventually. Who do we have here in the chat with us? We're here on Rumble and we're here on YouTube tonight. I know Keith is over on our Rumble side of things, so shout out to Keith. Who else do we have here? Neozoic saying good evening to all you people here tonight. He has our first question here. Which natural horror movie that involves an animal attack would you rather watch? The Birds or Jaws? Um, Classic cinema style, I think some people will pick the Birds, but it's like no, it's Jaws. Like it's so easily Jaws. It's like I'm sorry, like I get it. Like for our boomer parents, like the Birds was scary. I'm not afraid of birds. Like I'm just not. I'm afraid of sharks because they're massive. They can like shaw you in half. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Jaws. So that's the go to there. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you. I mean, The Birds is one of the most overrated Alfred Hitchcock movies, and it's really past when he was best. I mean, I think it's the only like it's the movie after Psycho, so it's not. I'm not saying much there, but yeah, that one kind of gets overrated. There's that one shot of the guy with his eyes pecked out. That's very vivid and disturbing, but it's kind of just a thriller. It's not even a horror movie. Jaws is more of a monster movie, and it's just really well done. It's really well executed, smart. I mean, that's the model for the monster movie. For I guess it was what natural horror movie is how it was framed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely go with that one.
Orange, what do you go with?
I would say Jaws because it's a psychological horror for the most part until you get to the final third of the film. Birds, I first saw that in high school, and it's like, is this supposed to be scary? I mean, it's not that scary, so I'm sorry. But Hitchcock, back then when the movie came out and shit, because my mom will not watch that movie. She's absolutely terrified of it. But it has its scariness just for the right people, where Jaws is an absolute gold mine of horror because it leaves a lot to the imagination, and then later it finally reveals what it or the big ass shark, you know.
Yeah, no, it's the big ass shark. There's no question about that one here. And then his bonus question here is basically which group is scarier, classic monsters like Dracula and Frankenstein, or like slasher killers like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees. Now here's the thing: if this was fully bloodlusted, it would be the monsters by far. Because I mean, who on the serial killer team is gonna stop the Wolfman? Like seriously, though, who? Like all the monsters would like tear all those guys apart, and it wouldn't even be like hard. So in theory, the monsters run away with this almost borderline spite. But Orange, would you agree with that?
Yes, actually, because I did my mummy thing earlier, folks. Mummies are essentially forces of nature. They carry with them powers that are beyond mortal comprehension, like plagues and shit. I mean, what can Freddy Krueger is a fucking dream demon, so that he's got to wait for them to fall asleep, and then they're not really afraid of anything except for the things that are their foils. Jason Voorhees literally could have a bunch of fucking locusts from the Mummy just drop on his ass and eat him completely. Michael Myers, he's mortal, easy to kill him. Leatherface, I mean, the monsters are running away from it, or running away with this one.
You know, it's funny here because they're actually all supernatural. All these entities are supernatural and can't really be killed because they keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. So I'd probably agree with you guys in principle. Here's the thing. I don't know. It's not broad daylight, so maybe that argument goes out the window. But if you see Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, the Mummy, like you're going to run in the other direction. Like you could have a slasher, maybe not these guys because they're so well known, but you could have a slasher that just looks like a normal guy. You know what I mean? Or that could be mistaken for a normal guy, and it's like, oh shit, he's going to kill me, I'm dead. So in principle, I'd probably say that because I mean I'm just a big fan of the Universal monster movies anyway, and they've been in the public psyche for 100 years. So
yeah, to me, that's not even a question.
What we have here?
Meg or Jaws?
Yeah,
that's not even a question.
What are you doing? Who's gonna win, shark or bigger shark? Like, I think the bigger shark's gonna win.
I mean, the bigger shark's gonna win, but Jaws was a lot scarier.
Oh yeah, no, it's a much better movie, of course. But yeah, it's
okay, what we got here? Leslie says I'd rather watch Jaws. It's like, yeah, this classics are just gross. Barney says, yeah. So I'm pretty sure some of you guys saw this. Dwayne Wade of the Miami Heat, who, if you talk about someone who just completely destroyed his legacy, like I think we mentioned this on Saturday night with MSK. It's like there was at one point in time, and I know it seems like forever ago, but there was one point in time where Dwayne Wade could have been one of the top 3 greatest shooting guards of all time, like in the NBA. Like he was on that path, especially towards like the late 2000s. And then the whole thing with LeBron happened. And then as soon as that thing fell apart, just a couple of years later, he just hopped from one team to another and kind of ruined his legacy on the back end. Now Gabrielle Union's got his son over here dressed like a girl. We have to pretend like he's trans, and his whole entire legacy has just been absolutely destroyed here. But so he had a reveal here of a statue, one of those statues that they give to like the Hall of Fame players once they retire, be like, oh, this is what you're gonna see outside of the stadium every time you come to watch one of our games. This is Dwayne Wade's statue. This is not a Photoshop. This is legitimately what it looks like, and everyone is saying that that's not Dwayne Wade. That is not him at all.
At 60, is it him at 60 years old? Because he looks weathered, man. Holy shit.
And the memes have just been horrendous towards them. They're pulling no punches when it comes to the Dwayne Wade statue at the moment. I'm trying to see if I can find some of the photos here. Oh yeah, the memes have just been absolutely insane about this. Go ahead.
We've seen Total Recall, the original, yes? That statue looks like Lawrence Fishburne getting depressurized on Mars.
No, it looks like Lawrence Fishburne, like as Morbius. Like, well, he's still hooked up to the Matrix.
I'm like, for Lawrence Fishburne was not in Puerto Rico. I'm very confused.
Yeah, I think Orange may have the Total Recall mixed with the Matrix. I don't think he knows the difference between 2 movies.
I mean, sure, there's also that too, but
Mhm.
Holy shit, man!
I was
That
like,
just
you
looks
mean Arnold
terrible.
when he can't breathe and it's like,
Yeah,
his mouth is open? Is that the connection?
yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of almost looking like that, like his eyes are just about to bulge out. They haven't yet, though.
Yeah, that's some oof for you there if you want some oof. Who else we have here? Vanya's here with us. Spencer is here with us. Spencer might be joining us later tonight when we talk about what was it? Venom 3. So keep an eye for that one later on here in the show. Who else do we got here? Yeah, no costumes. Yep, I'm not putting any effort. I'm a curmudgeon, so that's about as much as I can go. Lacey says that whenever you gamble, my friend, you'll eventually lose. Yeah, this is like what, 4 or 5 years ago when I was on Bovada. I had worked my way up to about winning about $1,000, and then I lost it all in a couple of days because my severe impatience. And I bet on baseball too because there's like
So
literally nothing else to bet on.
the trick that I implement is that every bet is $1. So,
Mhm.
I mean, yes, I am spending $30 to $40 every week, but it's incredibly low stakes. And if it hits, we're talking about thousands of dollars. So it's like, I'm totally fine with that. You just got to play within those limits because that's when people think that that they can beat this. It's like, no, I've seen every gambling movie I could get my hands on. And the lesson is literally, it never works out. Don't do it. You're insane. It's not gonna, you know what I mean? So at this point, it's just for fun. But
You're basically just playing the lottery with slightly better
no,
odds.
exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yep. Who else do we have here? Maurice is here with us. Doba Fett's here. A little bit though, just as Ghostface. So here's the other news story. Apparently, Marlon and Shawn Wayans are back to do another scary movie. So Scary Movie 6, which will be a reboot. Apparently, it's on its way in the next couple of years. And here's the thing: some of you guys, some of you marks might be like, "Oh yeah, this is great." It's like, look, anyone has seen any parody movie that Marlon Wayans has produced over the last 10 years knows that this movie's gonna be complete shit. Like it's not gonna be like all of a sudden, oh, it's gonna be funny again. In all honesty, go back and watch those first two Scary Movie films. They don't really hold up as well as you think that they do. I mean, not Another Teen movie is objectively a better parody movie than those Scary Movies if you go back and watch them all. So yeah. Go ahead.
But what's that?
Yeah, that was hilarious. Remember when Carmen
Till it
Electra
got
got
done to
stabbed?
death.
Remember when Carmen Electra got stabbed in the tit and ripped out her breast implant? And that was the joke.
So much
was
so that when I
hilarious.
watched Scream, I fully expected to happen. I'm like, oh no, that's a scary movie. Okay.
Yeah, Trippy Harden and the Birds. Yeah, no. In honor of Halloween, I'm gonna buy candy and possibly see a Hugh Grant movie. Yeah, Hugh Grant has that movie Heretic that's coming out, and I feel like I'm gonna have to do a review on that one when it comes out. So, who else we have? Does Jason count as a serial killer or a monster? He survived a long time just because he's a tank. Yeah, he's kind of one of those in betweens, right?
He was
like, you
or
can
he's
kill
both,
him.
Actually, he's a serial
Eh,
killer, and then he became a zombie.
Yeah, like I said, it's like you can kill him, but it's like he just keeps coming back. Like, that's got the
Right.
whole thing with Jason. And then who else do we have? Yeah, Dr. Loomis.
Does anybody have any pea soup right now?
Nah, I don't think you want it.
Oh, come on.
Fully,
You
I
don't get
finally
that
tried.
reference? Spinning heads and pea soup.
Nope, because we're curmudgeons. I just mentioned that like
Yeah,
a minute ago.
it's fine. We get it.
Maurice says, happy to report that finally tried Culver's and it's actually really good. Chick-fil-A has some competition in their hands. Yeah, like I said, I don't know where Culver's is like nationally. Like I know it's obviously here in Georgia and it's pretty good, but I don't know like if it's spread to, like, the Northeast or the Southwest. But for what I know, it's like mostly the southern states for the time being. So it'll be interesting to see if that one picks up there. It's more like Kent wants to be. Yeah, exactly. The shark, the biggest shark will be extinct prehistoric shark. The autism megalodon. Yeah, it's just one big shark after another. I'd rather
Did they
watch
change
Wayne.
Sorry. Did they change
Oh, yeah.
the scientific name to Megalodon? It used to be Carcharodon.
I mean, I feel like I'm gonna go on a rant if I start talking about prehistoric sharks. Doba Fett here says that rather the Waynes do I'm Gonna Get You Sucker with Scary Movie 6. Yeah, but that would have to be like Keenan would have to be the one to do that. Like you would have to get Keenan and Damon to get a movie. So, like I would probably more trust those two doing the movie than Sean and Marlon at this point. So yeah, it's probably gonna be a tough one to watch there. Outside of that, I think we'll go ahead and get started here with this show. I want to get started with our boy Quentin Tarantino, who did an interview that went somewhat viral here earlier today, where he's praising Joker 2 and says that Joaquin Phoenix gives one of the best performances he's ever seen. He says that the film is basically an FU to comic book geeks and to Hollywood. So this is probably one that's going to ruffle a lot of feathers here, but let's go ahead and get into this one. It's from Variety. This came out just a few hours ago. So this is the first person I've seen publicly actually come out and like praise Joker 2, because everyone else, like myself, has said it's a big giant pile of crap and probably one of the worst movies of the entire year. But somebody out there likes it. It's not doing good critically at the moment. I think it has like 30% on Rotten Tomatoes with both critics and with audiences. It's only made $201 million on a $200 million production budget, so it's going to lose money as well. And yeah, it pretty much destroyed everything, any goodwill that they have with the first movie has been gone with this one here. But Quentin Tarantino saw it, and apparently he absolutely loved it. And of course, he went on Rob's favorite podcast in the whole wide world, Brent Easton Ellis, and talk about his opinion over the divisive Joker movie. Like I said, the box office success has already been talked about here. So here's what he says. He says, I really, really liked it. Really a lot, like tremendously. I went to see expecting to be impressed by the filmmaking, Tarantino said, but I thought it was going to be an arm's length intellectual exercise that ultimately I wouldn't think worked like a movie, but I would appreciate it for what it is. I'm just nihilistic enough to enjoy a movie that doesn't work as a movie or is that big giant mess to some degree. I didn't find it as an intellectual exercise. I got really caught up in it. I really liked the musical sequences. I got really caught up. I thought there was more the songs were, the better that they were. I found myself listening to the lyrics for once in my life in the way I've never have before. Tarantino said that the bit with he saw a bit of his Natural Born Killer story in the Joker sequel, comparing Joaquin Phoenix's Arthur Fleck and Lady Gaga's Lee Quinzel to the movie's disturbed serial killer couple, who was played by Juliette Lewis and Woody Harrelson. There we go. It says, as much as as much as the first one was indebted to Taxi Driver, this one seemed to be pretty indebted to Natural Born Killers that I wrote. The Natural Born Killers, I would have dreamed of seeing as a guy who created Mickey and Mallory. I love what they did with it. I love the direction that it took. I mean, the whole movie is a fever dream of Mickey Knox. It says, on top of all that, I thought it was really funny. I said that he saw it in an almost empty IMAX theater. Before laugh without bothering anybody. I know I'm laughing at the scenes that other people said that other people wouldn't be laughing at. He goes on to praise Phoenix in the film, saying that the 2019 film that won him the Oscar. He says that Phoenix Phoenix gives one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life in this movie. He goes on to talk about he commended Todd Phillips, the director and writer of this movie, being the Joker himself. So he goes on to explain why he thought that, Todd Phillips was basically the interpretation of the Joker in this movie. He said the Joker directed the movie, the entire concept, even him spending his studio's money. He's spending it like the Joker would. All right. He says that there's a big surprise gift, Jack in the Box, where he offers you his hand for a handshake and you get a buzzer with 10,000 volts shooting you. It's the comic book geeks. He's saying fuck you to all of them. He's saying fuck you to the movie audience. He's saying fuck you to Hollywood. Fuck you to anyone who owns any stock in DC and Warner Brothers. And Todd Phillips is the Joker. The film, The Joker, all right, it is what it is. He is the Joker. So he's singing the praises of Joker 2. Like I say, he might be the only person in the entire country who absolutely loves this movie. But because this is all excerpt here from Bret Easton Ellis and Quentin Tarantino, two people who you know very, very well, Rob, I'll start this one off with you. What is your thoughts on Quentin Tarantino's comments? I know you have to agree on some level with, his interpretation of, I'm just nihilistic like that, so I would enjoy movies that nobody else would like. Is that, you kind of get what he's saying there?
Listen, I'm going to preface this by saying I have a lot of respect for Quentin Tarantino as a movie mind, as a movie mad individual. I mean, literally the term I got from the Bret Easton Ellis podcast, being movie mad in the 70s, movie mad motto. But so like, I love that. I love the Gen X sensibility, the love of going to the movies, and love of stuff that is not easily sold through corporations, not in these prepackaged superhero, compartments, if you will.
Yeah.
So I agree a lot of what he has had to say in the last decade or so about movie culture and movie going. I completely disagree with everything that he said here. I mean, this is I read his book, all about. I'm trying to like cinema speculation, where he talks about Taxi Driver, where he talks about some of the most important movies of the 1970s, Deliverance. I kind of disagree with him a lot. He is also a big fan of Pauline Kael, someone that I love, who famously almost went the other way every time with the consensus, with the audience, with the public, with critics. She literally made it her identity to basically like shit on movies. Now, he's not shitting on Joker 2, but he's celebrating it while everybody else is shitting on it, and rightfully so. I really don't know what the fuck he's talking about here. I couldn't connect with anything or agree, really see eye to eye with anything that he said in this interview. Unfortunately, I have actually not listened to this podcast in a while. So this surprised me as you were reading it, that it was even from, because I do know that he's doing a two-parter with, I believe, his screenwriting partner from Pulp Fiction, whose name I'm absolutely like flaking on. I think it was Roger. It's not Roger Daltrey, but it's something along those lines. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Quentin Tarantino is going out of his way to say, "Hey, I think this is actually pretty good." You know what I mean? This is a man.
Roger Avery was the guy.
Roger Avery. Thank you. It's embarrassing, but it is what it is. And Roger Avery adapted The Rules of Attraction, one of Bret Easton Ellis's novels. So all these people are friendly with each other. They know each other. They're from that Gen X sensibility, but I have no idea where Quentin Tarantino is coming from with this. And I always find it surprising how much musicals are in vogue, how many filmmakers want to make musicals. I mean, to me, it's a handicap. You're literally saying, hey, let me make a very specific type of movie that really hasn't been in vogue since, I don't know, the 70s for 50 years. You know what I mean? You have the occasional musical that'll come out, but it's just kind of a non-starter for me because it's usually going to be, overly theatrical, performative, that kind of thing. So, I respect the guy's opinions. I'm always interested to hear what he has to say. But this is somebody that even in a Q&A on that podcast, I said, Quentin, you basically called John Ford a racist because of how he portrayed Native Americans. At the time, he was the only one doing it. He was a progressive in his time. He was a famous, as Rick will remind me, he went Republican during the Vietnam War, but he was a Hollywood liberal from the 20s all the way through the 1970s. And so it's like, it's just, he is somebody that is not necessarily consistent. He just kind of shoots from the hip. So I take this kind of opinion with a grain of salt. He's an interesting filmmaker, but he's really out of his depth here. And granted, who the fuck am I to say he's out of his depth? But really, it's like, dude, did you watch the movie? He said he actually enjoyed the musical performances. I was like, you enjoyed actors purposely singing badly? You know what I mean? So it's like, and if it was a purely camp thing for him, whatever. But I read what he said, and nothing in it really resonated or made a whole lot of sense.
Orange, we talked about this a little bit before the show about your thoughts on essentially the premise of what he said, but now you've actually heard his thoughts. What do you think about Quentin Tarantino's views of Joker 2? You're muted.
Yeah, they really haven't changed. Essentially, with the added context, I still feel kind of the same. The guy took a look at it. Hey, these are the kind of movies he likes. That's fine. But ultimately, he's saying, yeah, this isn't ultimate fuck you to the comic book fans. Well, here's the thing. When it comes to comic book movies, unless you ultimately state that you are going to be making a from page to comic adaptation, why is anybody complaining? Because to give you all an example, when Feige said he was doing the MCU, he said this early on. This is not going to be anything from the comic. Yes, it's Marvel. Yes, it's inspired by the comics. It's a different universe from the comics. So there will be differences that you all may not like, but that's okay because not everybody is going to like our stuff. The same principle rolls true with the Joker. Now, me personally, I don't even think they should have made a second Joker. The only reason why they did is because, Lady Gaga was actually making a splash in Hollywood with that movie that she did with what's his name, as well as helping out with Top Gun Maverick. And I will actually give her credit with Top Gun Maverick because honestly, her music was well received. But in Joker 2, I haven't seen the movie. I have no interest in the movie. As for Tarantino, honestly, the only two movies that I really like of Tarantino, Kill Bill Volume 1, Kill Bill Volume 2. The man otherwise makes really fucking weird movies. I took a look at Pulp Fiction. I didn't like it. I took a look at Reservoir Dogs. I'm like, where the fuck is the middle of this movie? You got a beginning, you got an end. Where's the fucking middle? Quentin Tarantino is a weird fucking movie maker. Now, does that mean that he's a weird fucking person? I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But honestly, he's entitled to his opinion, so I'm not really going to bash him for it. But if he's honestly saying, you know what, if people don't like it, they can go fuck themselves, which I don't think that is what he was saying. He was simply saying it was simply a fuck you to those people who were, huh?
He just liked it. This is really all he said.
Yeah, he liked it. So what? Okay, he liked it. Not everybody has to agree with him. That's the beautiful thing that makes America great. We're all allowed to agree to disagree. But honestly, I can't really offer much opinion on Joker 2. I never saw it. I only heard about a couple of things that happened in it. And what happened in it, honestly, sounds like I just don't need to see it.
Yeah, and I'll say this in cinema speculation, reading what he wrote about Taxi Driver, because just Joker, one of the big influences of it is Taxi Driver. You know, I don't think Tarantino understands that movie. You know what I mean? Like, I think he has trouble because one of his big gripes was that Harvey Keitel's character wasn't black, and and that, you know, if they used black, you know, and to be fair, you know, Scorsese and Schrader, you know, decided to use Harvey Keitel instead of, you know, a cliched stereotype black character who would be a pimp, you know, selling a young girl for sex or whatever. And it's like, I don't really, that's not something that gets in my way personally. And I also don't think Travis Bickle is a racist, you know, in that movie's depiction. It's like, he puts himself in the worst neighborhoods. He's scared of violent black people on the streets who exhibit that behavior. And he's an idiot, so he can't put two and two together. But that's the whole thing about Taxi Driver, is this man who puts himself in the worst situations and creates this fearful environment for himself with what is there in reality. And so it's like Quentin Tarantino not grasping Taxi Driver and then watching the sequel to Joker makes a whole lot of sense to me. But you know, it again, we're all, like you said, we're all entitled to our opinions. I personally think Tarantino is a kind of a brilliant, elevated exploitation movie filmmaker, but you have to know what that is. You have to know what exploitation movies are, and to appreciate what he's doing. Kill Bill was a mishmash of Leone-esque westerns and samurai movies from the 70s. It's fantastic. It's great. It's amazing once past just what's the story on the surface. It's like, oh my God, there's all this other stuff going on. So
I did like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah,
I do remember liking that one as well. So let me amend my statement. I also liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
And Jackie Brown, honestly, is one of my favorite movies of the 90s. I think that's his most adult movie. But it's 2.5 hours, and it's a heist movie with the heist is like 10 minutes of it, you know, and it's kind of
a terrible movie. If it's a heist movie and it's only 10 minutes, it sucks.
No, there's plenty of great heist movies where the heist
climax is only
much of the rundown.
Like
so it's a character-driven 70s blaxploitation movie. So yeah, there's a lot going on there, but the
controversial
is, you know, somewhat inconsequential.
Controversial opinion. I think Jackie Brown is probably Quentin Tarantino's worst movie.
I mean, I think that's probably Death Proof, but that's fine.
Then I like Death Proof though. So
but to be fair, and this is just the snob in me, Jackie Brown is a movie critic's movie. You know what I mean? It's a somewhat overly talky character examination of a poor black woman. And to be fair, it's entertaining. It's got good dialogue, but it is that kind of, bleeding heart sensibility from the 70s. So I get it. But I was introduced to it super young, my mom is the one who introduced me to Quentin Tarantino. So I always think that's kind of humorous, but.
Yeah. And it's weird because Tarantino's been saying for years that he's going to be working on one last film, and very recently I think he's kind of pushed back on that, like maybe it won't be his last film or not, but he's been talking about this film like the movie critic, and that was supposed to be like his last movie, and now it's kind of like he's teetering on whether that he wants that to be his last film or not, which is an odd decision.
I said it was bullshit when he came out and said that. I was like, there's no way he's not going to do that. His whole thing is like, hey, it's better to go out in a blaze of glory than to slowly fade away. Because his big thing is a lot of directors don't get better over time, which, to be fair, he's got a point, but a lot of them maintain. I mean, Sidney Lumet had a great career. Robert Wise. I mean, there's multiple directors. Scorsese. To me, Scorsese is incredibly strong here. And I mean, I'm not saying anything, but he probably only has 20 years left, if that. So, I just he's playing out his epitaph, Tarantino. That's what he's doing. It's like I'm making myself relevant before I'm not relevant anymore. It's like, Quentin, we're all gonna die. We get it. You're having an existential crisis, but like, make a fucking movie or get the fuck out of the spotlight. Stop fucking treading water. Seriously, it's annoying. It's diva-like behavior.
To address Eternal Cody, yes, he portrayed Bruce Lee very poorly in the movie, because it was literally a parody of a historical event. He was essentially doing a what's Ryan John subversion of expectations.
Yeah, it's Brad Pitt's
that's what he was doing. Yeah. He was basically giving the fuck you to old school Hollywood and portraying people differently, and also literally changing a historical. The movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is literally a what if.
Yep, it's
what
a historical.
Something happened that changed course of what Hollywood became, or what happened in Hollywood.
Yep. Well, any last thoughts on this one before we move on to our next topic here?
Next topic.
Rick, do you have any first thoughts on this story?
He's free to think anything he likes, but I think he's just needling. I think he's just needling fans. I think he's just mocking the people who are haters of Joker 2. I think he's just being contrarian, just for the fun of it.
Pauline Kael.
So let's jump over to this story, because this is the one that everyone has been melting down about ever since Sunday, when this whole went down. Donald Trump had a rally at Madison Square Garden. Like I said, I believe this was Sunday.
It was a Nazi rally.
Yes, Nazi rally full of Nazis. A lot of gay Nazis that were there at the Trump rally. But no, so he invited comedian, what's his name, Tony Hinchcliffe, to the show. If you guys don't know Tony Hinchcliffe, he has the very, very popular show on YouTube called KillTony, where he brings a bunch of stand-up comedians on, and a lot of amateur stand-up comedians, and tries to give them some shine. And some of them fail horribly, and then some of them are actually pretty good. But he went on stage, and he obviously came out in support of Trump. But there was this one moment where everyone went, "Oh, I can't believe he said that," when he made a joke about Puerto Rico. So we're going to play the joke in question here, and then we're going to ask a couple of questions along the way here. So this was what happened on Friday night. Sunday night, and this is what everyone had a meltdown about.
A lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay, all right. Okay, we're getting there. Again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody.
So that was it. That was the whole joke, and this caused an absolute firestorm and meltdown from people all across the board. Celebrities such as Jennifer Lopez and Ricky Martin and Fat Joe and Bad Bunny and all these New York Puerto Ricans got super butthurt and upset, and now everyone on Twitter is claiming that joke has cost Donald Trump several key states, including the entire election now, because he offended the state of the it's not even a state. What do we call Puerto Rico? A territory?
Territory.
The territory
Province?
of Puerto Rico. Yeah, the little floating trash island there. Now, look, if it was me personally, I would have doubled down, because I would have been, after I said that joke, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, we're in New York. What I meant to say was Cuba. That's what I've been my follow up to go even further. Now
Like,
we
didn't
upset
he
dumb
say
people.
that?
No, but they should have said that. It would have been far funnier. But like so everyone's been like upset about this. Now here's the question, because I'm gonna play you a little bit of Tony's regular stand-up bits here, and when you hear what he said about people previously, you realize that Puerto Rico joke was very, very tame by comparison. So this is the debate we're gonna have here in a second.
Of the Giants, which is why Kevin Hart is hosting tonight. All night, he's been using the stool that Aaron Hernandez kicked out from under himself. Kevin is so small that when his ancestors picked cotton, they called it deadlifting. Tom Brady is a patriot, which is surprising considering he looks like a Confederate fag. Clearly your ex-wife takes after you. I hear she's out there draining balls right now. People love you, Tom. You have the same fan base as Kyle Rittenhouse. Gronk, I'm happy you could take a break from writing Santa letters to be here today. I knew you were here when we were all out of chocolate milk backstage. You look like the final boss in George Floyd the video game. Jeff is so Jewish, he only watches football for the coin toss. Nikki has such a bad eating disorder, the industry keeps shoving her down our throat. You might recognize her from her podcast appearances, specials, and winning the Triple Crown at Churchill Downs. You might recognize Kevin as the jockey that rode her, and that's Churchill Downs, the racetrack, not to be confused with what Jeff Ross looks like when he smokes a cigar. Sam J, an obese African-American lesbian, so by having here, Netflix checked off a lot of boxes. Andrew Schultz, I'm glad you took a break from watching YouTube videos on how to dap up black dudes correctly. Schultz's mom is a professional ballroom dancer, which means she's a stripper that talks too much. Bert Kreischer is a king. He looks like if the Tiger King and the Liver King only ate Burger King and had a liver that looked like Martin Luther King got beat up by Rodney King. And how about the appearance from the great Ron Burgundy, huh? A whale's vagina, which reminds me, Kim Kardashian's here. She's had a lot of black men celebrate in her end zone. Kim, word of advice, close your legs. You have more public beef than Kendrick and Drake. Thank you guys. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, so
when it was
So,
live.
he's an offensive, or he does offensive comedy. That's his
Yes.
shtick.
It's roast comedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean he's typically, best way to describe him is like he's like one of those old school New York comedians, which is kind of why I guess what they thought of bringing him on there, because it's like we all know, if you watch stand-up comedy long enough, you all heard the name Nick DiPaolo, Patrice O'Neal, and like guys like that. It's like that's basically the same comics like Colin Quinn and stuff. So that's kind of the comedy style here. Now there's two questions really to be had here. One, the people who are acting like that Puerto Rico joke was the most offensive racist thing they've ever heard in their entire life. Obviously, we're 2 weeks away from an election. There's a lot of emotional grandstanding right now because Democrats fear that Kamala's already lost this thing. So they're trying to draw you up anything they possibly can to swing the narrative in the other direction. But then here's another side of the thing that we need to talk about here. Is that obviously it's a political rally, right? And obviously, Tony, you can make the argument that, well, Tony's style of comedy doesn't really fit where he's at right now. It's a political rally for the president of the United States. Maybe that's not the person you bring on. Well, here's the thing. If you're going to invite him, I don't believe in this whole thing of, hey, come to our thing, but can you tone down your normal material? It's like, look, if you want a safe comedian, don't invite Tony onto your show. Like, if you're going to invite him on and you're going to let him do his thing, then let him do his thing and don't whine after the fact. Like, oh, we didn't know that you would go that far. It's like, well, clearly you guys didn't do your research. I mean, there's been instances like this with guys who I typically don't like, who I've defended on that aspect. Guys like George Lopez, guys like Eddie Griffin, when they've been invited to events and they've been told to tone down, their rhetoric because, it wasn't proper for their event. It's like, no, if you want a safer comedian, then don't invite those guys to your show here, right? So I'll start here with Rick, and we'll go around the horn here. Is that basically there's two questions here. One, did you have a problem with the joke? And two, do you think that it was improper, quote unquote, to have him at that rally, knowing the type of comedy that he does?
Why would I have a problem with it? I'm Mexican. I'm not Puerto Rican. I'm like, it's not going to affect me.
People. Yes,
That's right. That's right. It would be, yeah, it'd be Cassie who would be outraged, and she's single-handedly going to swing the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to to Kamala, because obviously she was just so outraged. You know, she was just no, I'm not offended. I'm not outraged. I've heard it. This is the first time I've heard this joke. I've avoided it until now, and you can see the audience didn't think it was funny because it really wasn't funny. I don't think there was much of a setup. But was I offended? No, I don't think it was funny, but it wasn't the most outrageous thing I've ever heard in my life. As for whether they should have invited him, uh, yes, I suppose it's fine if they invite him. But he seemed to be not in the best. Not the best performance that I've seen. He was better at the roast, but then at the roast, you know that you're going to get insulted. That's the thing. Here, maybe he misjudged the audience. Really, the whole brouhaha here is that they want to the opposition, the I guess would be the liberals, the left, the Democrats, what have you. They want to say, oh, because this really bad joke, and it was bad not as in, oh, this is horrible, but bad as in it wasn't funny. This bad joke, oh, it's going to feed the narrative that Trump is a racist, that he hates Hispanics, and that he wants to lock every person here up in a concentration camp except for Orange, and we're all going, and he's going to deport me personally. He's going to grab my mother's corpse and drag it across the border as well, because that's how much he hates all Hispanics. It's such nonsense, especially because most of the a good number of the Hispanics that I know actually like Trump and are going to vote for him, which is their own choice. No, they're trying to tie this in to like the whole narrative that he's a racist. They go back to that very fine people line, which was a real like misquoted. It was not exactly what it was not what he said, that there were no Nazis were very fine people. And at the same time, was it just today, President Biden said that the only garbage that he sees floating are Trump supporters. And so that's not going to get any notice. No one's going to be outraged. But I think that's worse. That's the basket of deplorables thing all over again, because
that's the actual president saying it, not just some comedian.
Yes. And it feeds into their idea of what a Trump supporter is. They think that all Trump supporters are racist, that they hate, that they're stupid, that they hate minorities, even though a lot of the minorities that I know actually support Trump. I don't get it. I mean, most of the Trump supporters I know are Black, Hispanic, or gay, or even a combination thereof. It's a bad joke. It's a dumb joke. It's not funny. But really, if people are going to suddenly vote for Kamala Harris because of this, if this is the thing that swings it to you, not the economy, not the mismanagement of foreign policy, but a joke about Puerto Rico, which is technically not, I mean, it's U.S. territory.
Not a state.
It's not a
state. You're irrelevant. Go away.
It's a territory. It's a territory that has been wildly mismanaged for over 50 years. If that is what's going to swing the election towards Kamala, I really wonder why you even bother voting, because it's a dumb thing. Vote because you think.
I think it was somebody said after the whole like hurricane that hit Puerto Rico a couple of years back, and everyone was making a huge deal out of that. I think somebody said, it's like, look, I'm sick and tired of pretending like I care about Puerto Rico. We haven't cared about Puerto Rico in 50 years. Let's not start now. So yeah, Rob, what is your take on this whole situation?
I don't know. No, I just look. I love stand-up comedy. I love insult comedy. This is what I grew up with. I mean, this is just like, I'm sorry, but like, first of all, if you're gonna misrepresent and be disingenuous about something, pick something a little sexier than a guy basically making a joke about Puerto Rico being trash in the middle, an island of trash in the middle of the ocean. You know what I mean? So it's like, look, I think most Puerto Ricans have a sense of humor about this shit, and then don't take themselves too seriously. And if you do, you're already going to vote Kamala anyway. You know what I mean? You're one of those people who you take your identity and your race into, you take that into account with what someone says. I mean, what kind of a coward does that anyway? It's like either something's funny or it's not. You know, if you didn't think it was funny, it's like it's okay. You can still acknowledge it was a joke. You know, I personally like that stuff more than I don't. Even if it is like a hack joke, because it's just like, look, comedians are up there trying something, and it's better than someone not trying anything. And even if they fail, which again, Tony Hinchcliffe is very successful. He's he's the host of KillTony, has a good relationship with Joe Rogan. Whether he's funny or not, I don't think he's actually a very good stand-up comedian. He's a good roaster. He's a good like roast master. He's a good like insult after insult after insult after insult. He's very good at that. But if you've seen his stand-up specials, they are not really funny. They are not. That's not really his forte, and that's okay because not everybody is good at that format. But I mean, this is it's. They did the same thing when Trump called Baltimore a shithole. It is a shithole. I mean, Puerto Rico.
Don't forget the Haiti. Yep.
And he didn't even say this. He didn't even make a comment about Puerto Rico. But the fact of the matter is, Puerto Rico has its problems. It's got issues. You know, when they
entire reason why they've been fighting to be a state for so many years is basically because there's several of billions of dollars in debt, and they essentially want the U.S. to cover the costs. And the only way to do that is by covering a state so they can bail them out.
You know, it reminds me when we were remembering Haiti. And he said that Haiti and some African countries were blank hole countries. The reaction was so over the top and extreme. Well, Conan O'Brien went down to Haiti and like, oh, isn't this a beautiful, this is a beautiful country. You are wonderful people. Look at them now. They're one of their leaders. They overthrew their government, which they do constantly. They have the voodoo, and now one of their leaders was like called cannibal and allegedly was eating people and holding people hostage. This is insane. This is not a beautiful country. Haiti has never been a beautiful country. Not since they overthrew the French. It has been a disastrously run country with the voodoo. So don't go around having this knee-jerk reaction to everything that anyone connected with Trump says.
That place is cursed.
But
yes,
that place, like Haiti is I believe that place is cursed because it just is the same cycle of violence over and over and over again.
Yeah, you know why? It's all the damn voodoo that goes on down there. It's like it's the same thing. You can look at like India, and it's like if God was to like personally curse a nation, India would be like the textbook example of that. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys saw the video going viral earlier this week with the whole poop war that was going on there. I'll show it to you guys another time.
No,
it was,
and I would argue Pakistan would be the more disastrously run country.
Democrats overreact every time anything remotely close to this happens, and it's like, why
that's the difference.
When something is a shithole or something is in disrepair, or that. By the way, the criticism is how you change things. Now it needs to be it needs to be constructive at some point, but it's like if you just keep believing things are fine, nothing ever improves.
But no, like the problem is that they're all driven by emotion. They don't have the ability to think rationally about anything. Somebody says something and the immediate reaction is emotional. It's like, oh, I can't believe you done. This is the worst thing that I've ever heard. I can't believe, like, it's always some overdrawn, like overdramatic 14-year-old girl's version of events. It's like, this is the way that most of the Democrat Party are. Now, some of them are doing it just to play it up. Like I said, Kamala's not looking good right now, so they're trying to drum this up as if it's a bigger deal than it actually is, because they need something to turn the tide, and this is all they really have right now. Like I said, the people who aren't trying to do that are just emotional children. That's really what it comes down to.
Oh, and does anyone really remember Trump was shot? Wasn't Trump shot twice, or didn't Trump try to kill him twice? But yeah, that's not important. Some dumb comic, not comic, some comic.
Yeah. Well, he got shot at once. Then they found at least 2 people who tried to go back and get him again afterwards and failed. So, but go ahead, Orange.
This whole Nazi rally that they're saying, first off, I take offense to it because one, I was kind of born in Germany, and yes, on rants. I mean, Jacob was with me on rants. He came in after my whole rant on that spiel. Last time I checked, the last Nazi died in 2019. So the Nazi Party disbanded in 1945, October 10. There is no Nazi party anymore. So when people say that Donald Trump was hosting a Nazi rally, let's not forget that if they are using that logic, Hillary Clinton herself is a Nazi. Bill Clinton himself is a Nazi. Many of the Democrats themselves are Nazis. Anybody who goes and holds any sort of event at Madison Square Garden are Nazis. So that is why it's stupid to throw that logic or that rhetoric around. As for Tony Hinchcliffe, Heathcliff, whatever the fuck his name is, I don't care. He told a joke that didn't land with everybody, and you know what? Even the audience in the garden didn't take nice to it. They kind of were like, "Oh, come on, man, really?" And he's like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, he kind of already acknowledged that. Okay, that one wasn't as good as he could have made, or wasn't one that was well received. And even other people as a part of Trump's team, Ramaswamy and them, they all basically said, "Look, I'm not offended by it at all. Nobody's fucking offended by it. Even the people who are Puerto Rican there were not offended by it. They're not changing their votes over a dumb joke."
I could just imagine somebody out there.
What they will change their votes over is anything that comes out that is damning to Kamala Harris. Everybody already knows who Trump is. Everybody already knows what Trump is about. Everybody already knows what his stance is. Nobody knows shit about Kamala Harris except for the lies she tells and the flip-flops she wears and the knobby knees that she got on when sucking off a mayor in San Francisco.
That's not true. Everyone knows that she comes from a middle-class family. So, I mean, that's one thing everyone knows by now.
What does that have to do with anything? Every time she says that, it's like, okay, so because you've from middle-class family, that's why you're to blame for the high grocery prices? I'm confused. Like, what's the correlation between one and the other?
It'll be like the equivalent.
She worked at McDonald's too.
Yeah. So did I.
It'll be the equivalent. Be like, did you have sex with my sister? It's like, look, I came from a middle class family. It's like, what's that have to do with it?
I was never employed by McDonald's, but I did once work in McDonald's. Inside of a McDonald's, I actually did a little bit of labor inside of McDonald's. I mean, what exactly did Kamala Harris do? Did she clean it, or did she wash her hands or clean the sink in the bathroom while she was using the bathroom? If she did, she can technically say she worked in McDonald's.
That's
how easy it is to manipulate people.
Wait, is there a McDonald's at the Capitol cafeteria? Is that what's going on here? That she just eats there occasionally throughout the week?
Because they're all a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, but what I was gonna say, yeah. So the whole thing, it's a Nazi rally because here's a photo of the KKK in the convention. Like, yeah, whose convention was that?
They had a German
Democrat
Bund event in like 1938, 39, somewhere about then, and that's where they're making the connection. But they are stretching so far with this Nazi rally. They want to bring it up because, again, all these people, and believe me, I say this as someone who is not a Trump supporter in any way. All these people are so utterly convinced that Trump is the new Hitler, just like George W. Bush was, just like George H.W. Bush and Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon and Barry Goldwater and even Thomas Dewey. They are so convinced of this that they want to tie it in. This fits their worldview. As really oddball as it is, they can't help themselves now. They truly believe this. All of them. I can't explain it. And for a Nazi rally, there were a lot of Israeli flags. So I'm just puzzled by the Nazi rally with Israeli flags. Although I understand Israelis are Nazis according to those who are for the Intifada. So
no, the Jews are bad now. So we're gonna keep using the term Nazi unironically while we hate Jews, which is just hilarious. But for those of you who want, I was gonna play this just real quick.
It's so bad that Eric Adams is calling out the Democrats for.
He's in trouble right now. It's maybe.
I'm
Don't
about to say,
listen
well,
to
didn't he
Eric.
get arrested? Didn't he get arrested like 2 weeks
died,
ago?
I think he
It's
died.
under indictment right now. Like, let's not listen to what
Mhm.
I know what you're saying because I saw that too. But I was like, it's because come on, he's playing chess right now in case Trump wins.
So, for those of you who haven't seen KillTony before, this is a clip from a show they did back a couple of months back where they had Shane Gillis, the guy who was famously fired from SNL because, he said some offensive things about Asian people. And he did a whole set, Ask Donald Trump. And this is one of the highlights from that show.
Kind of going back to softcore now.
Softcore porn. What is it about softcore porn?
I like to see how they're like, they're like putting that shit on YouTube now. They're like trying to get past the censors.
What do you mean by like hand jobs? What is it?
They do like, oh, this is a see-through clothing tryout.
This is
It's
what's
not
happening.
anything
This is what's
sexual.
happening in this country. The men now are going back to softcore. Can you believe softcore porn? Can you believe this? Well, it's better. It's better.
You just
4
go
years
back
ago,
around.
we were into tranny porn. We were doing. The men in this country were being men. We watched gay porn. We had gay sex. We had gay sex, and now faggots are watching softcore porn. Now we've got a faggot epidemic in this country. Hey.
So, yeah, if you want to check out more of those clips, they're all over YouTube.
And
but,
unironically, almost all the gay people I know on X, Twitter, they're all massive Trump fans. I can't explain it. I really can't.
They're what I call the cool gays. Okay, so like gay people who hate like the fact that their representation is people who can't stop having sex with each other, and it's just orgies nonstop, and it's gay pride. Like seriously, there's a
Billy
contingent
Eichner.
gay community who fucking hates pride and hates this image that's been created by GLAAD, and it's just like, we just want to like live our lives and not constantly be projected onto society. What I mean? Like leave us alone.
Yep. So yeah, that's the whole situation. And like I said, look, no, there's not a single person out there. I was like, you know what? I'm suffering from inflation. I can't buy groceries. My kids left me. Everything's gone to shit. And I was gonna vote for Donald Trump, but when I heard that joke about Puerto Rico, it's like no one's ever gonna say that. Like I hate to break it to you, like this isn't going to be the straw that broke the camel back.
How are all these people who are so outraged about this really bad joke? Bad as in it's not funny. How are they going to sit through listening of America from West Side Story? Did they not hear the lyrics of that song? That's not exactly a complimentary anthem to
These people don't even know what West Side Story is.
Well, did they see the remake?
No one's seen West Side Story in at least 40 years.
Did they see it? Didn't they see the new one with Rachel
I don't think
Zegler?
anybody did,
America,
no.
Isn't she America's sweetheart?
No.
Who's Snow White?
What is West Side Story?
It was a movie that was popular like 100 years ago.
1960 it came out, but it was a Broadway musical.
Exactly.
before.
Nobody
well be
fucking
100 years ago.
cares.
Right.
And but a new one came out with Steven Spielberg.
Yes, Steven Spielberg directed.
Yeah,
it.
and no one
Fred
watched it.
Stiles loved. Yeah.
Steven Spielberg endorsed it or whatever.
No, he directed it.
He directed
he directed it.
It was even worse.
Well, no
So-
wonder he sucks as a freaking director now. That movie flopped.
Well, we're gonna move over to review time. Rob, do you want to stick around for a while, hear us tear down this film, or
No, this is a good time for me to leave. But
all right, well, let's give Rick
Get outta here.
Rob the floor here, well, so he can get out of here.
yeah, so I'm working early mornings right now through the holidays, which is so much fun. But you can check out my stuff on Twitter, which is just Rob_Motto. I'm super behind on stuff like always, but I'm gonna get something out before the end of the year, so there's always that to look forward to. Halloween month is over. Looking forward to film noir, a lot of crime movies in November, and hopefully winning some money in my gambling endeavors. So I'll see you guys later.
Take care, Rob.
Bye.
Don't be sleeping at the bus stop because you lost all your money.
I drive. It's okay. I'll just crash my car.
Movie time. this movie sucked the whole plate full of ass. Like, it's, the best thing I can say. Okay, let's start from the beginning here. We need to rewind here for a little bit. So several years ago, Disney decided they were going to work with. Sony was going to work with Disney for the whole Spider-Man MCU thing. So they allowed Disney to have the rights to Spider-Man in the movie, and they thought that by doing this, it will prop themselves up so they can do their own separate Spider-Man related content. The only thing that's really truly been a success is the MCU Spider-Man movies. Any kind of offshoot that they've done has not really gone over very well. Some even worse than others. But they decided, hey, let's take Spider-Man's most popular, greatest villain, Venom, and do a whole movie series about it. So they got Tom Hardy at the time, where Tom Hardy was still pretty popular, coming off of obviously Dark Knight Rises and Mad Max and stuff like that. So they put him in the film, and the first movie got lambasted by a lot of people. I will say this: I didn't hate the first movie. I thought the first movie was somewhat decent. It's not comic book accurate at all. I can agree with that one, but I didn't think there was a terrible movie. They had some interesting elements there to the film. Somehow the film made like $855 million, I should say, at the box office. It was a big success. So of course they decided that they were going to do a second one. And the second one was Venom: Let There Be Carnage. This film, the second one that I'm talking about here, was so bad. About 25 minutes into the movie, I struggled not to walk out of the film entirely, and it never picked up. It never got better. It is by far the worst out of the trilogy by a lot, and it ended up making about $350 million less than the first one did. So after all of that was said and done, Sony was like, well, hey, look, we still got at least one more. Let's wrap it up here, because I think people are sick and tired of these films. But maybe not. Maybe they don't know what they're doing, because apparently they're going to do a Sinister Six movie here in the next few years, which means that Madam Web's coming back, and Kraven's coming back, and Venom and Rhino. All these secondary Spider-Man villains are all coming back here. Let's just go ahead and do it anyway, because the reasons. And here we got the third and final Venom movie, at least we hope, called Venom: The Last Dance. And give a quick little rundown of the plot, and we'll discuss some things here in a second.
There's a plot.
Technically there is a plot. So the movie starts off with Andy Serkis doing motion capture for the villain Null, who's supposed to be the god of the symbiotes, and he's somewhere in space jail or something like that, and he's floating around in space, and he needs something from Venom so that he can escape from it. It's like some kind of nonsense.
It's Puerto Rico.
Yes, literally. He's in space Puerto Rico. He needs a key to get out. And apparently Venom has some nonsense codex that apparently can only been tracked now in the third of three different movies. It didn't exist beforehand, but now he has some magical MacGuffin that he needs. So he sends demonic space crickets after Venom, and the whole concept is that whenever Venom completely takes over Eddie's body, that he can be tracked because of the codex. So the only way that they can not be seen is to not combine into one, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but that's kind of the way that they sold it here. And meanwhile, while this is going on, Area 51's being decommissioned, so they're blowing up a bunch of stuff. But what's the guy's name from he was in 2012? Remember that movie? Was it Tredo Okafor or something like that?
Ejiofor.
He played Baron Mordo in Doctor Strange.
He's played a lot of things that haven't been good, but he's there. And then So what happened there is that now he's trying to take down the symbiotes because he thinks that they're a threat to humanity. So he's basically generic military guy. That's kind of like his whole get up here with that whole thing. And there's other colorful symbiote. This whole thing it's stupid. This whole plot is stupid. I got about 30 minutes into the movie, and I literally had to ask myself, what is even happening here? Like, why should I even care at this present moment? Things just happen.
You lasted longer than I did. I had 20 minutes before I said, what is going on?
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Rick, you did see this movie, right?
I did see it yesterday.
Okay, so let's start here. This is I guess so. This is Noel. Let's go ahead and just show him here. This is about as much as his face as you're going to see throughout this entire movie.
Until the very end.
He looks like Henry Cavill in The Watcher. He's always looking down, and like I said, he's in space Puerto Rico. And he needs to get out, and all you can see is a bunch of like demonic crickets all around the place. And this is the whole setup of the film here. So we start off immediately following the end scene from, was it the second Venom movie, where Eddie's in some kind of bar in Mexico getting drunk, and that's when he realizes that, oh, I need to get out of here because bad things are happening. And for a while there, he's just like fighting like cartel members. I can only assume they were Mexicans. I just assumed they were in the cartel. And then
dog fighters.
Yeah, exactly. Cartel members. That's what I said. And then they're fighting dogs in the cartel. And then we have this hippie family that just so happens to be on the road. And then it's like, hey, let's go to Vegas. And it's like, why are they going to Vegas? And you find out 20 minutes later, we never needed to go to Vegas. It was completely irrelevant to anything that was going on in the movie. So, Rick,
Venom had to have his last dance.
Yeah, like literally had to have his last dance in the movie. So, Rick, I'll start this one off with you. What was your thoughts going into this film, and what did you think of the basic premise of this very, very stupid movie?
All right. Well, let me start out by saying that I was looking up my old reviews. I actually did not mind Let There Be Carnage because it was only 97 minutes long, and it was brainless, but I accepted it. The first one was just terrible. With this one, it was 20 minutes where I did ask the person I was with, what is going on? I didn't know who this villain was. I didn't get why we needed to have what became a running gag about him losing his shoes, never having shoes, always seeing his shoes destroyed. Why was that funny? This hippie family just came out of nowhere. There's no plot. This movie has no plot. This movie has no story. This movie is thoroughly pointless. I just sat there and I watched a series of things happen, but not having any real story. I just did not. I don't think I understood anything because there was nothing there. There was nothing there. This is just beyond terrible. And I think I'm finally going to break. Jacob, I'm finally going to break. I think I'm finally going to declare something worse than Argyle. I don't think I can hold out. I
can't argue against that at this present time, because that's just how nonsense. Like,
There
here's
were-
the thing, just real quick. Like the first 10 minutes of this film or so, this film gives you the guys that it actually has a plot, that things are going to happen, that, oh, we're going to introduce these really cool characters and everything's going to come together. And then, like I said, you just spend like the next 25 minutes with Venom in Mexico, and all of a sudden you just like forget that there was other things that were introduced like in the movie, and then they don't really materialize into anything. That's just basically what happened.
Well, there was that was it that Patrick Mulligan who came in and who was also in that symbiote jail in Area 51, and I'm like, who is this person? What is this?
He was from Let There Be Carnage.
I don't remember that.
He was the deaf cop.
You see, I don't remember. These things are not in my memory. It would have been nice to have had a previously on Venom, and then they did a little nod to the blip from the MCU because he was rambling on about the no more purple aliens, and the bartender's like, oh, my whole family disappeared, for 5 years. I was like, oh, okay, so I guess it's a way of tying it in or making fun of the multiverse. I don't care. There's nothing here. I really did not understand what was going on. I really didn't care. That was the thing. I did not care. I don't know if I've seen a movie that is as soulless and as disinterested in anything as The Last Dance. And we are going to get to the actual Last Dance, right? Where they go to Las Vegas.
We'll talk about that here. Yeah.
And I can just say that having been to Las Vegas, yeah, the Paris might be a little picky about when they let in at that entrance, maybe the other entrance they won't be so picky. But he could have gone. Really, they need to go to any place. They could have gone to one of the station casinos, and they're not as particular about how you're dressed, even at night. I kept focusing on that. It's a
And
strange
then this whole sequence didn't make any sense either. It was like everything is played up for comedies that so he's trying to travel to or where were they trying to go? New York City. So it's like,
Yes.
well, we can't just get on a plane. It's like, yeah, we can. So they just jump on top of a 757 and have Tom Hardy here hanging on like he's Tom Cruise in that one Mission Impossible film.
And I assume that the symbiote aspect is not what's going to get him killed, right? Because he's flying up there, and then they have that.
Even though he's like thousands of feet in the air, where like air would like legitimately be an issue.
And then once a little space cricket comes along, the passengers feel it because you do see the inside of the plane. But then once they're gone, it's like, oh, okay, I guess that was just weird disturbance. Nothing really happened, and they went off. And I thought they were in Arizona. Were they still in Mexico? I did not. I don't care about the geography of all this.
Yeah, it's not very clear. Answer Neo's question just real quick here. It says that you think that this film flopped because of the mistreatment of the character, or people didn't like this. The second movie is god awful. Like, I will say that the second movie is still worse than this one, but that film was so bad. Like, how can you possibly go into this movie with any positive like outlook on this franchise? Like, that's how bad this whole thing was.
I'm going to disagree with you in that I thought the second one was dumb and pointless, but I did not think it was terrible.
Oh no, it was awful.
I mean, not as terrible as this. This was really bad. This, I think, is worse than that second one. That the second one was brainless, but I just kind of just let it flow, past me. That was, but no, this was worse. I think this is worse.
So
okay, why are you walking in your underwear, Spencer? This is what scares me when you're out in public, like dressed like that.
Orange, let me ask you a question here because we kind of talked about this a little bit here last night. So, did you get a chance to watch this in full yet, or you haven't heard kind of bits and pieces?
I saw it in theaters.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Obviously the big point of contention from comic book fans is that this is not the comic book Venom, which is absolutely true here. But outside of that, there's so many other things objectively as a movie that is wrong with this entire franchise. Do you think that I'm being hyperbolic by saying that the Venom franchise is the worst comic book trilogy? Oh no, maybe put. I'll even go even stronger than that. This is like the worst trilogy that I've ever seen. Do you think that that's too hyperbolic by saying that?
Slightly. It does have a very strong, or I would call it better than the Disney Star Wars trilogy.
That's rough.
The thing is, this movie, I said it before this, or during my reactions to the trailers where Null was featured. It's like, if you are bringing this character in, you cannot oversaturate this film with comedy. This is literally a universal ending threat. Null, folks, to give you some background in case none of you know, swimming in darkness before the Big Bang, he witnessed the Big Bang and the rise of the Celestials. He got so annoyed and pissed off, he literally pulled a sword out of nothing and sliced one of those damn Celestials' heads off. Now, this is a guy who is literally 8 feet tall. Celestials are big enough to hold planets in their hands. And he sliced one of their heads off, used it for a forge to refine the sword that he just used to cut that thing's head off and make it stronger, birthing the first symbiote. This is a character who was kept in the background, trying to, or essentially to be used for a later villain. And I'm thinking to myself, if this is Venom's last movie for himself and you're bringing Null in, you're keeping him in the background, this is what is going to piss off fans the most. Also, you didn't really give them a clear shot at his face, because in theaters, when they're rolling credits, they don't roll credits in the dark. They turn the lights on. So when they're showing Null's face in the mid-credit scene, you can barely see it because of the light reflecting off the screen. But as for the writing, again, way oversaturated with comedy. The other symbiotes are pretty cool to see because you got Lasher, you got Phage, you got Agony, and others that make up the hybrid.
But don't forget Toxin.
Yes. No, Toxin died. Apparently, they couldn't come up with something to fix Toxin because Toxin was being born in the second one when he said monsters. But Toxin, or they said that one died in this movie. So Toxin died. They couldn't bring him in. So then they put Asher, the green one, on Mulligan, which didn't make sense. But it's like they're putting in all of the different symbiotes, and it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. But the problem is these are symbiotes that people are going to know, and that's pretty cool. I mean,
I don't.
But they also had a white and black one. It's like, be very careful how you label that one, because everybody knows what Eddie Brock becomes after Venom is gone. He becomes anti-Venom because of the symbiote bonded with his white blood cells and were left behind after he separated from Venom. But again, this movie had so much that they could have cut out. They could have cut out the Vegas scene. You are absolutely right. That scene was only put in so that Mrs. Chen could have her moment with Venom. And then this whole thing, you are right. They did, or the whole Codex thing where if Venom comes out all the way, they could track the Codex. Because apparently when a symbiote bonds with a person and saves their life after they had died, that creates a Codex. And it's like, yikes. Because I was waiting for one of them to do that in this movie besides Venom. But they were all actually smart about that, so I will give them credit for it. This movie, I labeled it 7.5 objectively out of 10. I put it at an 8.5 subjectively, meaning it has good, or it was okay. However, moviegoer, where I don't break it down, it's based on entertainment value and how many times I checked my phone for the time. I only checked my phone once. The movie had a good premise, had a good concept, it had a bad execution, because I said it before in the first one and the second one, you have to make this rated R. You cannot do anti-hero movies and make them PG-13 because they suffer, because they kill. These people kill, and you have to allow blood to be spilled. Now, yes, the alien wood chipper creatures, the hunters, they allowed some blood to spill, but it's basically just red misting. But this movie, you don't introduce a character like that unless you are absolutely sure you are going to have a banger of a film that's going to win the hearts and minds of people. Just because you put Null in it, not everybody is familiar with him. Not everybody knows about him. He just came out literally in the last decade, less than that even. So yeah, then you're saying he's going to eventually become a bigger threat when Disney finally gets their hands on Sony's
the
rights?
Sinister Six is supposed to be the Venom in the Sinister Six movie.
Sinister Six ain't going to be able to stop Venom. I mean,
you're trying to say that Dakota Johnson won't stand a chance against Noel?
Then you've got Aaron Taylor Johnson in that Craven. Them together are going to take down Venom. All right, or the Droll or Kroll or whatever the thing is.
No, he literally when they introduced his character in the comics, he took over Earth and brought Celestials that were infested with symbiotes down on Earth, being like, oh, okay, you got. I'm gonna make you think you won. Okay, now I'm bringing in these guys. Now
All
what
right.
you got?
My
This is a
question, my
guy that is
question
pure
is,
malice.
my question is, how am I, who've never followed all of these, how am I supposed to know any of this? How am I seriously supposed to know
Exactly.
who
See,
No is?
Rick, here, I got an answer for you. See, there was these first two movies that you were supposed to watch before you watched this one.
I
You have a
watched them.
tendency,
I
you
watched
have a
them when they
tendency of
came
like
out.
watching
No, no,
like
no.
the
I
10th
saw
movie of the
them and I
series,
reviewed
and then
them.
try to understand what's going on in
I
part
saw
10.
them. Oh, shut up, Jacob. Shut up. I saw them, but I
Hey,
saw them
you
when they
did
came
do it.
out. I saw them
Mhm.
when they came out, and I'm not going to revisit them. Nor do I think I need to revisit them years later so that I could watch the new one. And plus, this No did not come out, as far as I know. I mean, he came out maybe at the end of the second one, but by that time I probably left the theater. Uh, how how are people supposed to even remember that long ago, or however long it was?
So
It's not something that I'm
By
going to focus on.
revisiting,
But why am I? Why? I did have no problem understanding the three
because that
Lord of
is
the
what
Rings
it,
how are
films.
you
most
supposed
No,
to
no,
know who
wait.
Miss
moviegoers
Chin
will
is?
do.
How are you
Well,
supposed to know
I
who
know.
Miss Chin
I
is?
remember who Miss Chin is. But look, I saw the Lord of the Rings, and I understood the Two Towers, and I understood Return of the King. Uh, well, apart from the fact that they were well made, I understood Empire Strikes Back, and I understood Return of the Jedi, because those are actually good films and memorable ones. With this one, I, I'm I don't know if I need like a whole dictionary to go in there and start going through the cast of characters for
Well,
all
it's
of this. It would have been good if they had made No, and I think maybe Orange will agree with me on this. It would have been good if they had made No an actual threat rather than just barking
null.
out No
KNULL.
or whatever,
Null. Like
as if I
null
cared.
and void.
As if I cared. It would have been good if they had made him an actual threat. All he did was just send out his little cricket.
All he did was sit there in space Puerto Rico and pout the entire
Yes,
time. He didn't
yes,
actually
He
that
was
was the
stuck
was
whole
in,
thing.
involved.
or he was essentially imprisoned, which was why he couldn't.
Yeah,
And
Puerto Rico is what I
He
said.
was literally in the last bit of his prison and
and
forced back in.
I was too focused on that running
He
gag.
needed a raft so that he could get off the island and swim to Florida, but of course that didn't
That's
happen.
Puerto
So.
Rico. That's Cuba. I was more on the running gag of the shoes, where like he kept losing his shoes and he kept getting new shoes, and when the military sweeps him off the hotel, he loses his shoes, and he's more upset about that than the Venom getting separated from him.
Yeah, that was
And
ridiculous.
yeah,
So here's the thing, right? So you guys remember in the Last Jedi, like there was a scene where halfway in the movie they travel to Space Monaco for like
yeah,
reasons, and then there was like a whole like it's like, oh, we need to find this guy so that he can help us unlock the ship, and then turns out that that whole point meant absolutely nothing because they played no part into the movie like whatsoever. Like it's basically just dropped. About halfway during this film, Tom Hardy is in Las Vegas, and you think to yourself, oh, okay, something's gonna happen in Las Vegas that's important, and then you realize halfway during this movie that nope, it's not important at all. They're just there to do one dance in a fancy hotel because they was like, hey, how can we save money on production costs? Hey, we'll feature your hotel in the new Venom movie as long as let us shoot here for free
no,
and
no, no,
whatnot.
no. You also had that comedy bit of him being unable to control the Venom as he keeps hitting the button.
Knocking people out, yeah.
Yeah, and
Knocking
going
people
on
out,
the
yeah.
machine. Yeah, that was the whole. Wasn't that hilarious?
Because apparently Venom loves the gamble.
Yeah.
Venom loves the
All
gamble.
I kept thinking of.
He got addicted in like 3 seconds, and it's like, seriously, dude, no.
All I kept thinking is I can't, I keep getting told how Tom Hardy is this great thespian, this very intense, deep actor.
Not in this movie.
Well, who's well versed in the theater and
He looked
cinema.
like he was bored in this movie.
Yeah,
Let's be very clear. Let's be hold on before we start rambling on here for a second. Tom Hardy is great in movies that are not Sony movies. He did this for a paycheck. He's not trying to be a thespian like in this movie. He did this because they paid him a buttload of money to do this movie.
Well, he came up with this. He came up with the story as well, or at least part of it. I mean, he has a story credit in this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I've always thought that he sounds like Bobby Boucher whenever he speaks, trying to do kind of a weird, odd accent. It was like,
I tell you, those people, those British people, they always, whenever they try to do an American accent, they go straight to that Southern accent because I don't know, there's some kind of
it's not just
dialect that's
it's not just a Southern accent. He kind of has kind of like a weak little voice like that, trying to sound nerdy. And this is a very big guy, or at least I mean he's not tall, but he's burly, and he's trying to sound like Bobby Shea. It doesn't make any sense. But this is clearly I mean, I'm glad he got well paid for it. Good for him. But is it worth his reputation?
Like I said, at this
Andy
point, he just
Serkis
cares about
played
the money.
Null, by the way.
Yeah, right. And completely unrecognizable, and really not that much of a presence in the film. But
He only
as I said,
or the voice.
yeah, I think he did the motion capture too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he did both.
Possibly.
Yeah, but no. So you find out the only reason why they're in Vegas is that so he can get kidnapped and taken to Area 51, which is also in Nevada,
and do the dance.
Yeah. So then we ended up back to the military guys who have had really just no presence in this film whatsoever. And the whole end sequence here is that you get all of the symbiotes come together at once. And we have one big team up of characters you may or may not know. It's not that important. And then, of course, here you get, oh no, this is the moment where we're going to have to say goodbye. So it's like they built up this ending as if the audience watching at home is so emotionally invested in this Tom Hardy Venom buddy cop, adventure that they've been on throughout 3 movies, that somehow if Venom dies, it's going to be an emotional moment like for the audience. Like imagine like miscalculating your audience that badly in this whole scene.
Weren't you crying when they're playing that Maroon 5 song and you get a little montage of past moments between these two odd couple buddies?
You know what? They would have been better off just playing "Somebody Once Told Me the World Was like really like they would have been better off playing that song. You may have actually got a chuckle out of you.
Well, weren't you worried for the family and the little boy and that wacky parent?
I'm gonna be honest with you.
By the
time I got to the 3rd act in this movie, I was rooting for people to die. I was rooting for people to die, and I was rooting.
I actually wrote in my notes, "Kill Martin and his family." I actually wrote that in my notes in caps.
So here's the thing. Neil asked the question.
Who knew that Rick had a dark side?
Yeah, right. But no. So here's the thing, Neil.
Kill the fucking family.
Yes.
Did you want dog to die too?
No, the dog.
All of them.
No, the dog could be spared because
dog too. The dog ain't special. All of them.
All right, Wicked Witch. Get the little dog too.
No, the Wicked Witch is good now. It's fine.
Yeah.
She's just a misunderstood anti-hero. That's all that's going on.
No, but I mean,
Venom isn't dead.
Mm-hmm.
Then why were they supposed to be
the post-credit scene?
I didn't stay. I didn't say I left. I wanted to leave.
And it's gonna go on the cockroach that flew or that walked up to that little broken vial that had it. So yeah, Venom's not dead, folks.
They're gonna kill off Spider-Man's biggest villain without actually having him go up against Spider-Man yet. Like, of course he's not dead.
You know what? If that's the case, and I didn't stay for the closing credits or the post credits because I really don't care, then you can't really build up the sadness of that last moment when Eddie finally goes and sees the Statue of Liberty, because that's what his buddy always wanted to do. I mean, you can't build that up and say, oh, well, no, he's actually still alive up there somewhere.
Brock doesn't know he's still alive.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but I don't care.
Yeah, we get it. You don't care. Anyway, so Neozoic here. Yeah, Neozoic here asks this question: is Venom: The Last Dance worse than Joker 2?
Yes.
Interesting question.
Yes.
Here's what I'll say here. There's going to be a legitimate debate about what is the worst comic book movie of 2024. And unfortunately, Sony's going to have at least 2 candidates for that list. And keep in mind, Kraven hasn't even come out yet. Kraven is still like a month away. So they might have 3 when it's all said and done. But yeah, I mean...
No, I prefer Madam Web. Madam Web was just terrible, but in a very odd...
On the grander scheme of things, Joker 2 is worse because Joker 2 actually had a film that excited people and there was actually buzz worthy of the hype for Joker 2. This one, I mean, like I said, this is just a Sony cash grab at the end of the day. There wasn't really much else to this film. I don't know what Orange Hat was saying when he saw a plot and all of the other things that technically qualified for a movie. I didn't see any of that here in this movie. You had a lot of conveniences and a lot of just nonsense. Like there's really no story to follow here. Like there's nothing in this film that's worth watching. Even if you watch this movie, you're gonna watch it once, you're never gonna watch it again. Like you're not missing absolutely anything by missing out on this film. This film is rotten. I'm giving this film a straight out 0 out of 5. I'm just saying that this is. I think with the
like
stakes,
I said, the execution was bad.
But you still gave it like a 7.5 or 8. Yeah, like
I gave it objectively a 7.5. Yes.
Objectively,
I object.
0.
So, I object.
You object all you want.
I object to that. I'm giving it a -5.
Oh, that's.
We don't do negatives here on this.
All right, well, that could be a 0. 0. A
that's
0.
Your subjective
0.
opinion.
Well, I'm sorry, Orange, but this idea that I have to be well versed in the nuances of comic book characters and their plights and their situations and their backstories to enjoy something like this is a little off-putting. It's just
that's the whole
bizarre
concept of comic book movies.
Again,
if you're going
again,
into them,
no,
you should
you
have you should have rudimentary
Oh, I'm
knowledge
sorry.
of them.
I will now have to go and get the entire encyclopedia of the
Never said you had to do that.
Yes, if you don't know who Toxin is, you don't need to go watch this movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not Toxin though. That's Lasher.
Oh, you see? Oh, we need to know all of this. Oh, golly. This is the reason why.
And by the way, I think we didn't even mention this because we kind of ran through this. There are other symbiotes in this movie. Like the whole third act is basically every popular symbiote outside of obviously Carnage and the other one that they had. Yeah, the one that they had in the previous films are all here. So I mean, this is really the third act of this film is really like the fan service for like the Spider-Man marks. Is really what it is.
Well, I don't know about Spider-Man marks.
Deadpool Wolverine is infinitely better than The Last Dance. Oh yeah, there's a hot take for you, a super hot take.
Yeah, although Deadpool and Wolverine was not particularly good, I think it is better.
But it's leaps and bounds better than this movie.
It is leaps and better. As for which one is worse, I still think I don't know. I mean, it's certainly going to be a coin toss, but I just had nothing here. Joker, I don't know if Joker had anything good in it. Maybe because in the first few minutes it wasn't horrendous. Here, I didn't understand. I mean, I just sat there for 20 minutes. I'm like, what is the point? What is the plot? Why should I even care? And I like I found nothing good in this movie. I mean, if the fans who are well versed in this loved it, good on them. For quote normies, I'm not going to really have anything to say. This is the worst. This is worse. I would sooner watch Argyle. Really, I'm sorry. I finally have given in. I found something worse than Argyle, and
I mean, despite the fact that we reviewed like 12 movies that are actually worse than Argyle up to.
Well, I saw the TV Glow. I never saw Babes because I at least have some sense to me.
Drive Away Dolls is still way worse.
I never saw that one again because I don't want to torture myself.
Mm-hmm. I made sure you sat through the Book of Clarence. So
yes, so that was actually better than. The American Society of Magical Negroes was better. That's sad, okay?
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
No. I would sooner watch that than watch Venom: The Last Dance. And what a way to destroy Abba.
By the way, did anyone ever like this chick? Did anyone actually like her in the film?
No, and is her name Christmas? Because I just kept thinking, is she like Christmas Jones from one of those James Bond movies?
No,
she had a Christmas.
Well, that's what they called her.
I can't remember her name, but
did they call her Christmas?
Well, yeah.
Rick, do you have a single reference do you have a single reference that was dated before 1965?
No, because
okay. That's fair enough.
you know that was it. The World Is Not Enough was like from the 1990s, I believe. So you would have been able to have seen it when it came out.
like I said, the best thing that I can say about Venom 2, I mean Venom 3, is that it wasn't as bad as Venom 2. So if I had to rank these movies, I go the first one, and then the third one, and then the second one, which is utter shite.
No, I'm going to go the second, the first, and the third. Because the second is about 97 minutes long. It's not long. It doesn't tax my mind. You just hated that thing when he goes to the club, or
Yes,
I
because
don't
it
know.
was freaking stupid.
Yes, it was. But maybe by that point, I had just so embraced the stupidity of it all, I really didn't care. I, the first one was a waste of everyone's talents. I mean, you had Michelle Williams, you have future Academy Award winner Riz Ahmed, and you have Tom Hardy, who's supposed to be like this great actor, hasn't proven it to me. And it was bad, but it wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen. The second one was brainless, but it didn't offend me. This one was just, I just sat there and I thought, this is so pointless. I'm just watching something. And again, I could not get over that idiotic running gag about the shoes. Why did we need to have an endless scenes where he loses his shoes and he bemoans that he has no shoes?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yes, they hadn't even introduced sound. I was very excited with the jazz singer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or Rick, when Rick was born, silent films were still a thing. It was just like miming, talking, and then it was like the screen had to tell you what was actually being
Are you
said.
kidding? No, we had vaudeville. We were still doing vaudeville. Very well preserved.
Let's talk about this here real quick, because this is Predator Badlands. Now they had made this announcement that what's her face, Elle Fanning or Elle Fanning was going to be
Elle
yeah,
Fanning.
Elle Fanning, that she's going to be in the new Predator series, our new Predator movie with Dan Trachtenberg. Apparently, he's doing a couple of these, so she's going to be the face of this thing going forward. And here's kind of the situation with this, is that it seems like very, very silently that they are swiftly even that they're moving towards a female-led direction with the Predator franchise. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I think we know exactly by now it's probably not a good thing. But here's what I mean by this. If you recall, you had the two good Predator movies that came out in the 80s and like 1990. Then you had that weird Predator movie that people kind of memory hold with Adrian Brody. Then you had the one that came out, what was it, like 2018, that Olivia Munn killed when she admitted that one of the people who worked on it was a freaking pedophile and ruined that movie during this marketing phase. So there really hasn't been anything positive about Predator for quite some time. And then you had the movie Prey that came out on Hulu. Keep in mind, that was a Hulu movie. That was not a theatrical release. But because everyone pretended like that movie was awesome, that gave them the green light to be like, oh, what if we do another Predator movie with a woman at the lead? And now this is what we have here. It's Predator Badlands starring Elle Fanning is going to get released in the theaters November of next year. So this won't be coming out this year, but it'll be coming out next year. Trachtenberg, who did 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I actually do like, and Prey is going straight to Hulu back in 2022 after learning that Disney will be releasing the follow-up film in theaters. Says Dan Trachtenberg is also slated to release this one in theaters of November 7th of next year. Elle Fanning, who was in the Neon Demon, which is still it's a terrible movie, but going back and watching it now, it was basically telling you exactly how evil the fashion industry was. So maybe it's a little enlightening as far as that goes. But because Blade has now been officially dropped, so they're not doing Blade anymore. That's a shocker to anyone who hasn't been paying attention. But yeah, he's going to co-write and direct this film. We don't know much about it at the moment, but obviously it's going to be a follow-up, or at least some kind of follow-up to Prey, which was about the Native American girl who was going up against the older, more primitive version of the Predator here. So that's kind of the setup of what's going on here. So I wanted to shoot this off just real quick here to you guys. And we'll start with Orange Hat. We talked a little bit about this last night as well. The Predator franchise, do you agree with this new creative direction? Is it one of those situations where it's just like, well, I mean, they kind of fumbled it pretty badly beforehand, so it's kind of hard to argue against it, because I'm not too emotionally invested in this one, but knowing what they did before, it's not like there's much room to go except for up at this point. What's your take on the creative direction here?
Well, for one, I liked Prey, and I will continue to defend Prey. Two, if they are doing a second movie that is female-led, where this woman is going up against a predator, well, I'm gonna have to see it to see how the woman goes up against the predator. If they did it smart, like in in Prey, I will have no problem with it. It shows that the person had ingenuity and creativity to kill a physically more imposing opponent. But if they are doing it simply for woke reasons and continue to make movies that are movies against the predator, which are just nothing but female led, then yes, that is what's known as woke due to behind the scenes, due to their making the conscious choice to continuously do nothing but female led. But there is the thing that we all go by, which is 1 is fine, 2 coincidence, 3 is a pattern. We haven't seen what they have planned for the third movie yet. Now, yes, there's a second movie that's coming with a female lead. We all know that. Okay, I'm going to actually wait and see what it's all about. I already made the mistake of prejudging Prey when I did, and believe me, I was the one person out of a lot of the community who basically said, I at least have the integrity to admit when I was wrong. But when it comes to this, all we know is that Elle Fanning is a lead. We know that this is the second movie in which a female lead is in it. That's all we know. I'm not going to judge this movie simply because it's the second movie. But however, I will say this. If they are making the creative decision to go in that direction, I do believe that it is unwise, because you do want to mix it up. Yes, we've already had a bunch of movies in which male leads fought and killed the predators. But guess what? If it wasn't for Alicia Braga and Olivia Munn and also the Anna woman, the second one, she didn't really, or the female character didn't do much except for expand the Predator's honor code. But in the Alicia Braga one with Adrian Brody, she helped kill the last Predator. The Olivia Munn one, she had a hand in killing the Super Predator. There's no problem with having a female support character play a role in helping the male character. I mean, yeah, you can even have a male character helping a female character. There's no problem with that. I have no problem with that, folks. If you do the story well, and if you're not pushing some stupid ass narrative, then fine. You got yourself a good story that I will actually praise. However, if you are basically doing it like Ghostbusters 16, that attempt at a Ghostbusters film, where all the men are basically seen as inept assholes or idiots, or a combination of all three, that's poor storytelling. Nobody likes that, because you are literally just doing an exercise in misandry. But if this movie is done well and whatnot, I'll have no problem. But if they are doing nothing but female leads from now on, yes, I will have a problem with that, because that is simply, you're just doing it to honestly, yes, push a narrative. And people, or they need to wisen up, because we are already seeing the pendulum split or start to roll back the other way when it comes to movies. They're actually starting to move away from all of the identity politics stuff, or at least that's what it seems like right now.
Here's kind of my question. It's like, are they creative enough to understand that, yes, you have pretty much going to be a small, frail girl going against a literal super predator, unironically there. Put it to you like this. If you go back to, let's say, Predator 2, the one with Danny Glover, right? And obviously Danny Glover in an urban setting was completely outmatched, and it required him to use a little more tact and wit and to overcome his physical disadvantages against the Predator, and it worked in that setting. are they creative enough and are they smart enough to do a similar type of storytelling with Fanning here in this movie, knowing that she's the underdog and not try to do some strong female lead nonsense. It's like, let's actually require ourselves to like play this up in hard mode just a little bit and actually come up with something that can creatively actually be entertaining. Do they have the ability to do that, or are we basically going to get a girl boss 2.0 with this film? So I don't know.
They showed
Rick,
that they already could do it with Prey, because that Predator, for people to understand the full context, one, it was that Predator's very first hunt on Earth. Two, that Predator was constantly sustaining damage in its hunts. It got mauled, or it got torn up by a bear. It got its leg ripped up by a wolf. It was getting, or it had its foot stabbed by one of the natives. It was constantly being attacked and injured. And then it also lost its arm and had part of its head shot when the female character was going up against it. And yet it still nearly killed her too. They did it in a way where it actually was conceivable that she could win. So if they can do, or if they could replicate that in a different way of telling the story for this movie with Elle Fanning, yeah, I think that they can actually pull it off. However, it depends on whether you can actually create the circumstances for it to make sense.
Yep, we'll agree with that. Rick, what's your take on the Predator movie here? Did you see Prey?
No, I didn't have Hulu at the time, so I have it now, so I might be able to watch it.
Yes,
I really don't have much of a disagreement with whatever Orange had said, or what Orange had said. I'm willing to give this movie the benefit of the doubt. It is possible you can make a good movie where you have a smaller being, a woman, or even a small man like myself. You could defeat a predator by using intelligence, by using strategy, using the advantages that the predator has against him. So it's possible. It's not. We can't just dismiss it out of hand and say, "Oh well, it's ridiculous. It'll never happen." It's possible, and if it happened in Prey, well, good. And hopefully, hopefully, I'll think it'll be done well. So I'm not going to write it off and say no. If it wants, I don't know. You can bring the fans in. I think if you have a good enough story, well directed, well filmed, well acted, that has a female lead as a taking down the predator, you can bring the fans with them. We can't just assume that the fans are going to reject that idea out of hand if it's handled well. And that's another point where Orange and I agree. If it is handled well, you need people behind the scenes who are going to give you a plausible way for this to happen. It does not have to be perfect, but you have to make it plausible. You have to invest in the character. Think about it. The guys who love science fiction, who was a character that we all love, Ellen Ripley. Why? Not because she's perfect, not because she's like the strongest person physically, but because she knows that she's vulnerable and she knows she's fighting for her life. This could be the same thing here. We don't know. Again, I'm willing to give this a shot. I'm not the biggest Predator fan. I like the first one. I actually did see the Adrian Brody one, and I was puzzled as to what he was doing there, but I didn't think it was good. Other than that, I don't think I've seen any of the other Predator movies, but who knows? Oh, wait, no, I take that back. I did see Alien versus Predator, and I'm sorry I did that. I will just say that it's not a negative. All right, so ultimately, it's not a negative if it goes in a female-led direction, if it is done well, if it respects the fan base, and if it moves the story in a positive direction. If it is done for the quote woke reasons, if you're doing it just to show a smaller woman who's able to take down all the predators because she is a woman, then yeah, the fans are going to buy it. So I wish them luck. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, and let's see what happens.
If I
I
may
want to
answer,
end.
Vanya,
Go ahead.
if it's a female, or the thing is that Predator video game that has female predators in it, honestly, do not know how to do female predators. Female predators are, if you know the lore that was done back in the 90s and 2000s, female predators are actually far more fierce than male predators. I mean, there's a book out there that also had a female lead that actually joined, or human that joined Predator clan after she had slayed a queen alien. But it was also pointed out in those books that Predators, well, when he was mating with his wife ended up throwing him across the room. So in the middle of their mating. So it's actually known that female predators are a lot more fierce than the males.
That's certainly true in prison. If you've seen a lot of the female prisoners, they are probably more vicious.
Also
than
true
the
with Russian women.
Fair enough.
I mean, they'll throw you across the room when they're having sex with you too.
Well, I mean, Catherine II, Catherine the Great, yeah, she was able to do that with a lot of her, the lovers. So
again, like in the last 100 years, if you have any reference to the last 100
I'm sorry,
years
we've not had a female Russian president yet, unless Putin is somehow been fooling us all these decades.
I want to finish up with this one. This is how we're gonna. This is how we're gonna end tonight's show here. The Rock's drawing power. I just have a simple question here because The Rock has taken a whole lot of heat. Like his career is definitely on a downward swing over the last couple of years. He's not the draw that he was 10 years ago, where a lot more people like The Rock versus what he's become now. Obviously, the whole Biden support and Warren support from 4 years ago bit him in the ass. The whole thing with Hawaii really, really bit him in the ass, bit him pretty hard too. The whole thing that, he used to be viewed as kind of the likable guy in Hollywood. Now he's just viewed as kind of like, okay, he's basically the same Hollywood sellout as everyone else. And that's hurt him at the box office. Black Adam did not do well at the box office. Now, to be fair, Black Adam performed a lot better than a lot of other DCEU films that came after it, like, Shazam 2 and what was the other one, The Flash. Did way better than The Flash, did way better than a couple of films, but it still didn't do well given its budget. And now the news here is that the Red One, which is the Christmas movie that he has coming out next month, where him and Chris Evans are teaming up to find Santa Claus. This movie has a budget of $253 million, and it's only tracking to make less than $40 million domestically in its opening weekend. So this film is already tracking horribly. It's probably going to be another major money loser for Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So it's like, are we at the end of Dwayne's career? Because for those paying attention, he's gone back to wrestling a lot more over the last couple of years as a result, because let's be honest, the wrestling crowd is the only one who really cheers when they see him anymore. That's how bad that has actually gotten. He wrestled at WrestleMania earlier this year. There's rumors that he's going to wrestle at next year's WrestleMania at the time. But if this movie fails, then he would have a series of flops going back to the last couple of years. They just announced they're doing another Jumanji movie, which is going to be out next year. So now this movie and Moana 2, so to be fair, he does have Moana 2 coming out later this year as well. But I mean, like I said, and then of course he's gonna try to find a weasel his way back into the Fast and Furious franchise after saying that he wouldn't work with Vin Diesel again. So you just look at where his career trajectory is at the moment, and it's not doing very well. considering what happened with what was it, the Black Adam, the one of the DC movies he tried to do, Jungle Cruise didn't do well. And then there's a whole bunch of like other things that he's done that's really just been very subpar. He was never a big time box office draw, but it looks like that people have just kind of had enough of The Rock at this point. Orange, I'll just ask you just real quick, what do you think about The Rock's? Do you think he's done as a major draw in Hollywood?
Yes, because honestly, he did hurt himself when he started doing political endorsements, but or even backtracking in this election where he's like, I'm not going to do a political endorsement. And he also was very critical of the government. But it's like, dude, you have shown in this year alone that you are very disconnected with common people, where you are saying people who are literally having a hard time fucking deciding whether or not to feed their family or put gas in the tank, you want them to give as much as they can to Hawaii when Hawaii burnt down to the ground. It's like you and Oprah Winfrey could literally both. Well, no, Oprah could. She could give $1 billion and set that whole fucking thing up. But no, you want everybody to pitch in when they can't even afford to. That shows a great disconnect. As for his movies, I liked Black Adam. Honestly, I thought it was okay for what it was. A couple of things I would have done differently. But for the most part, they had a great potential to do the Black Adam versus Superman movie, but they didn't because James Gunn is a dumbass, as well as the rest of DC and those people over there. But when it comes to other movies, I checked out the Jumanji movies. I watched them, and it's like, they're okay. I don't see a need to go back to them. Kind of like Rick with the Venom movies. But what other movies? I mean, I thought he was okay in the Fast and Furious movies. He wasn't the best, but he was okay. I liked him in the fifth one, Fast Five, with his introduction into it. That really sold him as a good character. Black Adam was sure shit better than Venom. Yeah, it was definitely.
Yeah.
But when it comes to The Rock, it's like, dude, or his catchphrase, can you smell what The Rock is cooking? No, honestly, I can't, because you ain't been cooking anything that's good, that's for sure, especially in Hollywood. You gotta go back, or you gotta fall back to WWE, which everybody knows is fake. And the thing is, it's just, you're not that interesting anymore. You're a good guy. No doubt. Johnson is a very friendly guy, sure. He has that, but his disconnect with common people does hurt. And so, yeah, his drawing power is dead. It really is.
Yeah, like I said, even if you go back to like when he was at like his peak, like in the like mid 2010s, like the movies he was releasing there, they weren't like mega box office hits either. Like you go back to like Rampage and Skyscraper and San Andreas and Baywatch, it's like at most he was probably. No, not that one. That's the era of The Rock's career he wants everyone to forget. But even if you look back at like those movies, they were only about like $400 million worldwide, which, you know, considering the overexpanded budgets in Hollywood these days, is not nothing at all. I mean, if you're spending $250 on production, $250 million on production, and your movie only returns $400 million, you're losing money. So, I mean, in all honesty, it's hard too, because it's like, you know, that his payroll, he's gonna be asking for at least $20 million a film, but at the same time, the budget and the cost really doesn't say you're gonna get that much back when it's all said and done. So there's gonna have to be a reckoning point here somewhere.
Well, I think first off, I've never really believed that The Rock was his major draw. I don't think I've seen a movie because it's Dwayne Johnson that's in it. Secondly, I think his career is having its issues because he's trying to straddle two worlds. He's trying to do like these family-friendly films like Jungle Cruise, Jumanji. There was Race to Witch Mountain, and now Red One, which I presume is geared more toward family audiences. And then he's trying to balance it out with these more action-based films like the Fast and Furious franchise, like Black Adam. So he's trying to do two things, and the audiences are not there. They're not big on him being in like the Jungle Cruise. I mean, he couldn't sell that. He can't sell Red One. Moana is probably the only one where it's been like a family film, but he is not the biggest draw in that film. It's more about Moana, the title character. So I don't think that his drawing power is dead, because I don't think he's ever had that drawing power to begin with. Really, I can't remember when he started his film career. Was it The Scorpion King? We saw the what?
Yeah.
We saw The Scorpion King, and that was terrible. And they made more Scorpion King movies, but not with him, because he was not the draw. It was the character, and he had a very small part in that movie.
If you look at his acting career, as you all know, he started in WWE back in like the mid '90s. He became a superstar in the late '90s, early 2000s. Then he left WWE. I think it was 2004 to be a full time actor. He was doing movies at the time like The Rundown and Walking Tall, and really he was doing a bunch of films, but nothing was really hitting because he was doing like these weird like Disney like films, and nothing that'd be like, oh yeah, let's go see this guy like in a movie, right? Then all of a sudden, like I said, he juiced up pretty hard there, because if you notice that The Rock in 2008 versus what The Rock looked like in 2011 were two entirely different. Yeah, allegedly your head grows 3 sizes in its size in your 40s. That's what happens allegedly. But so then he started doing the Fast and Furious movies, and he became like super action Hollywood guy, and he tried to be the people's champion in Hollywood, and that worked for a few years. But then, like I said, Trump comes along, and now all of a sudden, he has to oppose Trump because he's a brand now, and that's when everyone kind of like walked away from him. And then the decisions that he's made over the last few years certainly has not helped him. We talked about the Hawaii situation. We talked about the Biden support and all this stuff. Apparently, even Trump mentioned that, when the guys tried to kill him a couple of months ago, that The Rock reached out to him privately. Of course, didn't say anything publicly because, he still has to worry about his image in Hollywood. He can't let it be known that, maybe he backs Trump this time around after, slamming him 4 years prior. But I mean, yeah, he's just not. He had a moment where he had the likability drove a lot of his box office success, but I mean, in films, he's not that great of an actor. He plays basically the same character like in every movie. He's just big juiced up dude in every single film, and that's pretty much all he's at right now. And so,
the thing about him contacting Trump after the assassination attempt, he should have gone public, and that would have actually have endeared him. Not, I mean, people wouldn't have thought, oh, he's become MAGA supporter.
Oh, some people would have indeed thought that.
Well, maybe, but I think most people would have said, well, he's reacting on a human level. The former president was almost assassinated, and here's The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, saying, you know what, this has gone too far. We need to tone down the rhetoric, lower the temperature, however you want to phrase it. And it would have been a nice human moment, because, you need to appeal to as wide an audience. That's the whole point of The Rock's career, I understand. Just appeal to as wide an audience as possible, not alienate people. And it would have been a nice thing if he had just said so publicly. It wouldn't have been an endorsement. It would have just said, hey, I saw someone that was almost killed, and I wanted to reach out and say, I think this is wrong, and this is not this is not who we are. Why he didn't do it, why he had to do it privately, because he was worried about offending people. But I thought that was a bad decision. But again, I've never been convinced that The Rock is like this gigantic force in film. But yeah, he's going through a little identity crisis there. Are you going to do family friendly things, or are you going to be more action oriented? That's going to be the issue.
Yeah.
You gotta pick a lane here.
Yeah.
To answer Neozoic, Bautista is always going to be the worst actor.
Yeah, here's the thing with Bautista. Like, The Rock has far more charisma on screen than Batista does. I think Batista, because he's been in the Hollywood bubble, he's been a little deeper in the Hollywood bubble than The Rock has. Because when Batista left WWE, he went all in on Guardians of the Galaxy and hanging out with James Gunn and all of those people in that little circle. So he's had all these people blowing up his head, thinking that he's actually a good actor. He's not. Dave Bautista is not a charismatic actor at all. He's nowhere near as charismatic as The Rock. And if you're talking about actual acting talent, he's not that good. And people keep telling him that he's good, which makes him think that he actually has range, quote unquote. But it's not true. It's not true. So for that and that alone, I think that Rock has more acting personality than Batista does. I would even go as far to say John Cena has more acting personality than Dave Batista does.
Yep.
I will say that Cena does have more personality than Batista, but Cena has permanently permanently on my shit list after dehumanizing an entire nation of people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought it was when he presented at the Oscars. I thought that was a low point.
No, that was when
that only just made me feel disgust for him even more. The whole naked thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's kind of just where we're at right now. So I guess we'll leave in the show with this little note here, this little ditty. You know, like I said, I know he's currently doing the wrestling thing. He's doing a pretty good job with the wrestling thing. But yeah, this is why The Rock is still the much better character than anybody else we just named here.
And with all the blood on your son's belt here, and your tears on that belt, The Rock is going to whisper in your ear, he's going to wipe your tears away, and he's going to say, Michelle, what can I say except you're welcome?
And that's about it. So
what did he get?
We're going to go
with Michelle Obama or something?
No, that was the mother of Cody Rhodes. It's a whole wrestling angle. It's not important. Let me go ahead before you guys roll out of here. Let me remind you, next week's Barroom podcast will not be on Tuesday. It will be on Monday. I will remind you that the next couple of shows that I do over the next few days, but we will not have a show on Tuesday next week on election night. We will have one on Monday. So tune in Monday at 9 p.m. and we will be back here all the time next week. So outside of that, I'm going to go ahead and get the floors to you guys so that you guys can let people know what you got working on. We'll start with Orange Hat over here. What do you got coming up?
Well, I got Tuesday theme streams. I plan on voting early that day, so I will be able to do my stream. I don't know how many people are going to be paying attention to it, but I marked November as Guilty Pleasure November. I'm going to have movies that people consider bad, but I actually enjoy them to a degree. I'm still trying to reach 2,000 subs. If I get to 2,000, just 2,000, not 2025, but 2,000. If I can get to 2020 or 2,000 by the end of the year, I will be doing a giveaway on my channel. I'm currently just doing streams as much as I can. The singles that me and Mara are going to be doing it for November are Mouse Hunt with Nathan Lane, William Hickey, and what's his name? But also Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Complete, the director's cut version of it, as well as I'm still waiting for her for deciding what the 1s and 2s are. I put content out as it comes. As if I can find anything that's that's really worthy of reporting on, I will put it on my channel. I do the weekly recap on Sundays, Orange Hat Uncensored on Fridays. The movie that me, Kate, and Ambassador are going to be talking for Sunday will be Commando. Director's cut for me. I don't know if they can get their hands on it, but definitely the director's cut for me. But yeah, other than that, just like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Orange Hat, that's what it's called. Follow me over here on X for my X streams, and over here is my original account.
All right, Rick.
All right. Well, I'm finishing up my Mummy retrospective. I've reviewed 4 versions of it: 1932, 1959, 1999, and 2017. So I'll be coming up with my conclusions. I'll be starting a new retrospective. This one built around The Wizard of Oz, not just the 1939 version, but also the 1925 silent version, plus Return to Oz, The Dreamer of Oz, the Elephant Bug biopic, and the Muppets with Oz, so that we could go into Wicked, which I'm not looking forward to, but I figure Jacob's going to make me watch it. He should make Rob watch it because he hates musicals. And yeah, just more reviews for films of this year and years where I was born. So that's pretty much it. Just reviews and the upcoming Wizard of Oz retrospective.
That's all.
That's pretty much it.
Letting you know, excuse me, letting you know what we got coming up here the next couple of days. So this coming Friday, if you guys watched our show last Friday, me and Nerdigans did a retro wave on Pokemon, the manga series. We did red, blue, and green last week. This week we're doing yellow. So me and Nerdigans will be back on Friday night talking about the yellow arc. That will be on Friday night retro wave. Tomorrow I will be with Cider, Nerdigans, and Spencer for the 01 stream. I know we're gonna be talking about Venom in a lot more detail tomorrow night as well. Bunch of other things that are happening right now that we'll catch up on. This coming Sunday, we'll be doing the Bible Lens. If you didn't check out last week's episode where I had Spencer and Shagsworth on, go check that out. It was a pretty interesting talk that we had there. We really got deep on some stuff on biblical prophecy. That was last Sunday. This coming Sunday, I'm going to be doing a biblical review on the movie Conclave, which just came out, I think, last week. I'm going to go into real deep depth into that film about, you know, the Roman Catholic Church and Hollywood and a whole bunch of other things that film was trying to promote there. So that's what we're going to do next Sunday. And then, like I said, next Monday night, we'll be back here with the bar room because I'm actually going to Nashville on Tuesday. So we're going to bump up the show a day early next week for Monday. So Monday at 9 p.m. we'll be back here doing the show at the same time, same place. So till then, thank you everyone for joining us over on our Rumble side, over here on the YouTube side as well. We're going to go ahead and sign off and get out of here. Yankees stink. That's pretty much all that I got. I don't have much else to say. So till then, adios, goodbye, and good night.
Okay. Oh.
Making your way through the daily grind takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to tune away? All those nights when you're feeling low, the rent is overdue, and your coffee maker's broken, your luck just seems to skew, and your boss is always on your case. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Roll out of bed and you feel the dread. The morning's looking bleak, and your internet is down again. You haven't slept all week, and your car just broke down on the way. Be glad there's a place online where you can feel at ease. In the barroom podcast, friends, we share our thoughts and teas. Every story shared, every laugh so free. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. So here's to the moments we all hold dear, in this barroom of the airwaves with friends so near. Every story shared, every heartfelt cheer. It's more than just a podcast, it's where we steer.
I still don't feel like I know how to shoot these things.